IVM.
This show is powered by Storytel. Storytel is a platform with thousands of audiobooks available. I want to recommend The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It's this superbly written book in a very simple manner about a story of a boy who has a dream about going and finding a lost treasure. And what happens in this and how he meets the alchemist who teaches him about the secrets of life. Also remember, if you use the link storytel.com/IVM, that's STORYTEL.com/IVM, you get a free 30-day trial instead of a 14-day trial. So do check out storytel.com/IVM. Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashdin Doctor, your habit coach. And today with me, I have two people all the way from Australia, Shimi and Jess. I just finished their handstand workshop recently, and this is the second workshop that I'm doing with them, and they're absolutely brilliant. As you know, I've been practicing my handstand for many, many years, and it's a frustrating and it's a hard process, but they run a school, and in fact, they are the first school in Melbourne to just teach arm balances. So welcome, Jess. Welcome, Shimi.
Hello. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Ash.
Thank you. So let's get straight into it, saying that there is a method called controlled strength, right?
Yes.
What is controlled strength?
Controlled strength is an amalgamation of different modalities. So what it does is that it takes techniques from different modalities to allow you to achieve rapid progress in your arm balances.
What is
in a nutshell.
But why controlled strength? What is the thought behind it?
Because we control our movements. So if you do our classes, there are no exercises with brute force.
Correct.
Everything is done in a controlled manner because it directly translates into the arm balance transitions where we control the movement from one arm balance to another.
So the whole idea is not just getting it into the rhythm and just like pushing up into it, but in fact understanding how your body moves and getting into an arm balance and holding it there, right?
Exactly. So controlling your body throughout the movement.
You know, it was so interesting because in our workshop, we did handstands right at the end. You know, like 75% of the workshop was just focusing on these minute muscles that we completely ignore and we completely forget about. But those are the ones that actually get your handstand to work.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So which, according to you, are the most fundamental muscles to focus on from an arm balancing perspective?
So we'll talk in layman's terms.
Okay.
So I'm not going to get into detail as to which muscle exactly we need to work on. The most important part of arm balancing is your shoulder girdle.
Okay.
So you need to develop your shoulders in order to arm balance properly. It doesn't mean to say that you do traditional strength exercises. There are very, very specific exercises to be done in order for you to gain access in a different manner through your shoulder blades.
Okay.
And that's what's needed for arm balances. So I would say, yes, your shoulder girdle is the most important to develop before, as you kickstart your arm balance practice or as you level up in your arm balance practice.
And why is arm balancing such an important thing? Like, why focus just on arm balancing?
Why focus on just pole dancing?
Right.
Right? So there are people who exercise a lot, you know, these days, especially with, you know, social media and stuff, you've got the exercise industry is booming. So everyone's exercising,
Absolutely.
Everyone's, you know, working out, everyone's training. But what happens when you do it in a very generic way, you start to get bored. So arm balance, pole dancing, running, whatever you choose, it's all just a different mode of training.
Right.
We are interested in arm balances, so we want to teach people to go on their hands and have fun, basically.
And this is something that anyone can start off doing? Is it only for the advanced people who've been working out for years? How does it work?
It is for anyone. So we work with beginners right through to advanced.
Okay.
A lot of the time, beginners think they cannot do it because the moment they see something different, that's how our mind works. We go, okay, we can't do that.
It's just so intimidating seeing someone upside down, right?
It is. And to be honest, that was one of the things that we had to work with. The fact that people found it intimidating and people were holding themselves back from actually trying it. But the thing is, you really just have to get on your hands to start with. And everything, all the opportunities will open up from there. So yes, it's for beginners right through to intermediate, advanced.
And can you share some stories on people who have come at a very beginner level and how they progressed and what was their mindset when they came in and how did that change over a period of time?
Okay, so with the mindset, this will probably be a pretty long story.
Yeah, go for it.
Go for it. It's
because I'm sure a lot of people will be able to relate to this, right? Because they're like, why would I even think about doing a handstand?
100%.
It's a tera. You know what tera means? Tera is like, it's such a sideways thought, right? It's a twisted thought. Like, why would I even want to stand on my hands?
Yes.
So let's start off. Why should people be doing this?
Okay. So the people that we've worked with, the biggest hurdle, I would say, in terms of mindset, is to get them through our studios. The moment they make the decision to pay and go and do our programs, that is the biggest hurdle.
Right. It's just that first step of just saying, I need to do this.
Exactly.
Or I want to do this.
Yeah. So we have had, even Annika, you know Annika.
Yeah.
So Annika is one of the girls in my team. She followed our organization for a year before she decided to register. And we have so many people like that. We have people sending us messages and emails saying, what shall I do to strengthen myself before I sign up for your program?
Right. What should I do before I come there?
They want to be prepared before they actually come into the program. And it's defeating the purpose because there's so much preparation
in the program itself
that goes into the program.
But do you think that people should prep a little bit before coming? Just open up their wrists or something? I don't know. What?
There's nothing you need to do except from making that decision and be brave enough to trust that you'll be taken through the process. And that's why it's a 8 weeks program.
Correct.
Like there's a progression throughout. It's not you come in and you do the thing straight away.
Yeah. It's like y'all were saying that there's no chance y'all will leave this workshop doing a handstand. And that is perfectly fine. It's not you're not going to get it overnight.
Yeah, you're not going to get it overnight.
And remember we were discussing about skills yesterday.
Yeah.
And why should people have skill training as part of their physical fitness training perspective? Go for it.
They don't have to. This is the thing. You don't have to do pole dancing. You don't have to do bodyweight skill. You don't have to do bodybuilding. The biggest thing is the interest.
Right.
Yeah, we all know we have to move one way or another. And a lot of the time what happens is that we start moving in a very basic manner. So the things that we know of. That can be general strength training, resistance training, or even, when someone has never gotten off the couch and they go, okay, I'm going to make my decision today to move. What do they think of? The easiest thing to get you moving is yoga.
Right.
And usually, yoga is not easy.
Right.
But the mindset is that, okay, let me go for this because this I can ease into it.
Correct.
Right? So they've started there. And then they start to experience arm balancing in yoga. And then they go, okay, this interests me. I want to go deeper into it. Okay. Same with resistance training. You do resistance training and you do the same kinds of things for extended periods of time. And then you go, okay, I'm bored now.
Correct.
I want to try a different mode of training.
Right.
So I want to go and try this, arm balancing, pole dancing, whatever it is.
Correct.
And this is how we fit into the whole
system.
System, yes.
Yeah. For me, it was very different. For me, when I was going through my fitness journey, it was that I want to create a body that I'm never going to be afraid of. Right? So for me, learning new skills was me mentally getting stronger, saying that, I can actually do this. Like the first time I went on the aerial silks, which are these long cloth pieces that hang from the ceiling, and you actually climb them up and touch the ceiling. It is life-altering.
It is. It is very liberating.
It is liberating. You're like, yes. I can do this. This is nothing. Now, what more can I do? Right? It is this, you get a certain strength from it.
Yeah. And mental, emotional, and physical resilience.
Getting all of them together.
Yeah. And I think it's also part of human nature, like to keep that curiosity of saying, okay, where can I actually go with my body? Where can I go with my capacity? I think personally, my perspective is skill work is essential to our human nature because it changes that story of, I need to be motivated in order to do things. Switch and swap motivation with curiosity.
Right.
Skill work maintains that curiosity because you'll never be finished with attaining new skills. And I believe that control strength in that regards is a beautiful way to initiate, but also to sustain this for a lifetime.
Correct.
Because the minute you unlock your handstand, it's opening up a whole new can of worms.
Right.
And that skill work will continue to sustain itself as long as you keep true to your practice.
Absolutely.
So I do believe it's really...
I love this mindset switch. Curiosity. Right?
Yeah.
You move from frustration, which is always associated with skill work, and that's something we should talk about, to curiosity.
That's right.
And as soon as you start saying that, wow, what more can I do? That's when it becomes interesting. Right? Fantastic. Frustration. You've had a lot of experience with people and frustration.
Yes. Arm balancing is one of the most frustrating practice. I've said this many times, and I think we all can agree.
Completely.
Because it's skill work.
Yeah.
It's not something where you progress with just load and you work on the same patterns. It's increasing complexity, and when you increase complexity, you are adding different form of movement. So you're changing the load through different patterns. So frustrations with the arm balancing itself, we've got many. and there is, you hit plateaus, you feel like you don't move, you're stuck at a certain point. All of this contributes to frustration. We deal with the frustration really through support.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The community.
The support through the coaches. And that is very important. For example, when I'm training on my own.
Oh my God, you should see us sometimes.
Okay.
Yes. When I'm training on my own, sometimes it gets very hard to finish a set. And you get frustrated because when it comes to skill work, like I said, complexity, and you don't get to, it's not as easy as just pushing a load up or pulling, a load up. It's because you're adding that complexity. When you don't finish a set because of that complexity, it can get very, very frustrating.
Right.
But when you're on your own, the risk of you not finishing a set is greater than when there's someone else. But in this instance, Jess and I have been training in these last 2 weeks together.
A lot.
Every day. Yeah, every day. And with Jess saying, no, you can do this, let's just finish this. Because with skill work, what happens is when you lose a movement, you need to keep doing it for that period of time during that training to actually get it back. Am I making sense? Yeah. So you need someone supporting you throughout that duration of your training to not allow you to give up. So the frustration comes in. Because of the frustration, there is, you want to give up.
Correct.
But the support through the coaches and the community that we have built with, all our practitioners will push them that little further.
I love this thought because frustration is something that we see in habit change as well, right? And when we're talking about habits, you'll be like, oh, I got this down for the first week and then I completely dropped it. And I can't believe I have to start all the way from zero again, right? And one of the core principles of habit change is to get yourself an accountability partner, right? So the whole idea is, how does somebody else, or being accountable to somebody else, keep you motivated, or at least keep you on track, if not motivated, saying that, okay, I have to do this today. And like I was telling you, we're coming out with a habit coaching app, and part of the app is to get an accountability partner on board.
Yes.
So it builds that community as well, so that you can immediately have someone to support you when you're in those frustrated moments.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and that's really true. Like the more we in this exchange, the more we talk about it, the more I realize as well that in Power and Posture, like the community is so profoundly important. But what do you do when you don't have an accountability partner? And I think at the very beginning level, that's very hard. You do need that other person.
Yes.
But now I'm thinking about what is it that makes it different when you work alone, for instance, in Shimi and my case. And I think if you don't have that person, clock time can become that accountability partner. So you literally make an appointment with yourself and you say, for that 10 minutes from
this
10
is what I'm gonna do.
to 10, no matter what happens in that bracket of time, I am dedicated to that skill work, because skill work will not show itself, or the gains of skill work will not show itself as clearly as, okay, I've lifted that bar for 5 reps, for 5 sets done. It comes in more subtle ways.
Correct.
And sometimes even it comes at times where you precisely didn't think it's going to come.
When you least expect it.
That's right. So you need to find another way to deal with that. And that's why frustration can be so possible with skill work. And therefore, I think pockets of time, is the way to keep yourself accountable.
Yeah, it's so important. Guys, they're dropping truth bombs all over the place. I hope you're taking notes, because keeping an appointment with yourself to do this and setting a time limit can be accountability partner. I think it's a beautiful thought on how to move away from frustration. Right? You're going to get frustration, but it's going to happen.
But just to start.
Just to show up, right? Like what you were saying.
Number one, show up and actually surround yourself around people with similar interests.
Yes.
Because that is very important. A lot of the time we get demotivated because we are not surrounding ourselves around those people.
That's big.
Those kind of people. For me, if I'm at home, because my husband does not do what I do, it can get very hard for me to go, okay, I'm going to the gym now.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's why I have developed the habit of working out. I don't like to use that word, but training.
Training is such a better word.
Yeah, training the first thing in the morning. So that's the first thing I do in the morning. So I don't need to deal with my husband going, no, you don't have to go to the gym now. Yeah.
And guys, I just found this out yesterday. Shimi wakes up at 3 in the morning.
I do.
Can you imagine this lunatic? 3 in the morning? I thought 5 o'clock and me was bad. Anyway, she's take the cake on this.
So many things to do.
So many things, so little time.
Yeah.
So the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about was the philosophy that you all share in Power and Posture, and the way that you all create this community. So they were telling me about this yesterday, and I thought it would be a fantastic thing to share with all of you all. Go for it. How do you all approach this community thought, and what are the principles that guide your community?
What are the principles that guide our community? I think the biggest value is humor. That's actually very important to me. Yeah. But I would say the second thing is...
So not taking yourself too seriously, right?
Not taking yourself too seriously.
Absolutely.
Not really. You have to.
You have to do the serious things.
No, you do the serious things,
but don't take yourself
too seriously. Yeah. Yes. arm balances for everyone. So we are for everyone. As we spoke about earlier just now, most people are intimidated by arm balancing, and they don't start because they think they cannot get there. And I think we spoke about this yesterday as well, where we spoke about grasping too far. Yeah, and it's about just taking the first step.
Right.
And in a nutshell, what we help you do is we help you take that first step, because arm balancing or any form of training really is for everyone. You just need to know where to start, how much your dosage is going to be, and how complex your training is going to be.
Yeah.
And a very important point. What would be the starting point for any arm balance? Like, where if somebody is getting off the couch for the first time in 10 years, what would be the first step?
The first step is to actually prepare your wrists.
Okay.
So our wrists are not made for hand balancing because of, the structure, but human bodies are highly adaptable and you can train it to do anything. So the health of the wrist is key before you even put load on it. And I'm not talking arm balances. I am talking training, because in any modality, you've got push-ups, you've got plank, you've got in yoga. It's basically mostly push, but a lot of us, there are some people who are naturally strong, who don't feel it in your wrist, but the general population don't really have strong wrists for obvious reasons. We do not walk on our hands every day. So it is important to take care of the health of the wrist.
Right.
So when I say health of the wrist, we want to build the structure of the wrist with some strength work, and also ensure that it is mobile enough to bear load. When I say mobile, strength in range.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there are certain exercises that would be appropriate for something like this? Or is there something basic that people can do? Like if you had to describe something that, like, I don't know, push a wall is just like get into...
Push a wall. It's... Okay, Jess will try describing it. Come on, Jess.
Yeah. So basically something very accessible to anyone would be to go down onto all fours. And most people will relate to the position if I say it's a similar position you would take to do a cat-to-cow in a yoga class setting, for instance.
It's like a crawling position.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, but you're on your knees, and if you have bad knees, you can still put some buffer, a cushion or something underneath your knees, and basically you would go through a range of motion with your hands right underneath the shoulders. That looks like a calf raise for your wrists. So you would basically lift the wrist up to the first row of your knuckles with all four fingers staying glued to the ground, and the thumb being the only one that lifts, and you would lower down back to the ground with resistance. So you would go down in a very slow manner, and you would just go up and down like this with a rhythm, but not collapsing down to the floor.
Controlled
lifting and lowering of the wrists down to the ground. And that is basically a very simple exercise that we do with different hands orientation. So we would start with 10 reps with the fingers facing forward, then changing the hand placement with the fingers facing out to the sides, and then turning the fingers all the way back to face your knees, and then do it from there. Now, it all seems quite simple, but there's little details as well that are very, very essential, such as not bending the arms, keeping the shoulders above the wrists as you do that.
So there's still weight on the wrists.
There's weight, The load is very important.
The load has to be on the wrists, right?
Yes. And then doing about 10 reps of each, you will start to feel that burning sensation or that warmth building up.
And that's what we want. And that's the strength building up in the body as well.
Correct. And honestly, like, I think we also spoke about this yesterday. If this person that is not only trying to get get past that mental block of, oh, I can't do this. Arm balancing is not for me. I can't possibly do it. Even if they made the choice to wake up every morning and just do their wrist prep, there is going to be a change in the mindset.
Right.
They're not just thinking of the person they want to be, they're already being the person they want to be.
Right.
They are already impersonating that change. And that is powerful because at some point or another, they're going to feel like, okay, now what? I'm doing this wrist prep. I'm doing 30 reps every morning. What's the next thing?
It's become easy. Now
exactly.
What? Right.
Now what? And that's when the curiosity strikes. And with the trust of feeling, oh, that's easy, you can take the next step.
Correct. Everyone just sees handstand and then says, can't do. And let's watch TV instead.
But there is a lot of prep for
Definitely.
arm balancing. Like yesterday, was it yesterday? No.
Day before.
Day before. Saturday's workshop, you see how much we prep you before we actually introduce you, because that's how hand balancing is introduced into your practice. Because for the mere reason that you need to prepare your body for any form of exercise that you're going to be doing. And hand balancing is not, what is the word I'm looking for? It's not natural.
Correct.
Yeah, it's not. We're not designed.
We're not designed. So when you're not designed, the prep work needs to be more. For example, if you're going to start running, the first thing you do is walk.
Correct.
Right? But we're designed to do that, so it is more straightforward than hand balancing.
Interesting. What would be the first habit people should think about anything that they're doing with their body or taking that first step or whatever?
Anything that they're doing with their body, they just need to take that first step. They need to show up. The decision to actually take the first step is very, very important, because a lot of us have a goal, but what we do is our goal is so far from where we are that just reaching for it feels like so much work.
Correct.
And then it's easier to not do anything instead.
Right.
So that first step, making that decision to take that first step and actually have a goal that you can reach in like a week. Like for example, doing your wrist prep for every day for a week and just feeling your wrist get stronger in that short time frame.
Correct.
Yeah, it's very, very important. You have something to add, Jess?
Yeah, I mean, also, I'm just comparing. So obviously, maybe there's a lot of people with different backgrounds listening to us right now, and with a background in long distance running, what immediately popped into my head is if you have any hope to finish a marathon or to reach that finish line, you're gonna have to run. You're gonna have to take that first step. Like, you can't just think yourself crossing that line. Yes, the vision is very important, but you have to start moving.
My mom once, when I was a lot younger, I am the kind of person who looks too far ahead. And then you relate to that?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I look too far ahead, and then it gets overwhelming because that's my character, right? And when I used to when I used to sit for exams, it would get so overwhelming for me with the fact that it had more than 40 questions.
Right.
And the moment I would get the paper, I would flip through the paper. And I would go, oh my God, 40 questions, how am I going to finish this? And then there's that panic, you've got that time, 40 questions, what do I do? So my mom once sat with me and she said, you take a paper, you get your question, you don't look through the whole thing, you take that paper and you cover all the other questions. You do question number 1, you finish question number 1. You move on to question number 2, you finish question number 2. Don't worry about time. It's okay if you don't finish the questions.
Right.
So it was not about, I mean, obviously being being brought up in a Southeast Asian background, you do have to get high marks.
Right.
But because of, you do have to get 100%. But because of what my character was, and my personality and how I approached this seemed very apt. And this is what I would say to most people, because this actually happens to most people. It can get very overwhelming because you go, okay, I want to do the handstand. Because handstand is not easy. Mm-hmm. It's not like you can take a single person out of the streets who has never done anything before and say, okay, kick up into a handstand now. No, it doesn't happen that way. It's like your examinations. You have to take it one step at a time. Don't think of that handstand now. That handstand is going to come. But follow the process. Take that first step, take that second step, take that third step, and that handstand is going to come.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, the reason why I wanted the Power and Posture team on the show was that there was so much of a synergy between what they're doing with handstands and the way we approach habits. Because if you say that I want to run a marathon, like Jess was saying, you have to first put on your shoes. And what we do in habit change is exactly that. We don't look at the end destination, but we look at how the habit compounds over time. Each element of the habit, every time you perform it, gets stronger and hardwired into you. And that's ultimately what we're looking for. So it's not the end goal. Like you're saying, it's not the 40 questions at the end, but it is that one question followed by the next, followed by the next, followed by the next. And somewhere along the line, you finish the paper. Right?
Yes.
That's how we should be approaching habit change. That's how we should be approaching personal development. And anything that we actually see, don't get intimidated. Right? And in fact, one of the last points I wanted to bring up was this, because most people starting off get intimidated by seeing people around them. Right? And you were discussing this yesterday, saying that especially in the skill class, everyone's at a different level. So if you're just going to start comparing yourself with people, you're screwed.
Yeah,
right?
You're not going to move anywhere. You're stuck.
You're stuck. So how do you guys get rid of that mindset in people? Like, hey, that person's doing this, but I can't do that. I know this because as soon as you enter a gym for the first time and you see all those weights around you and those torture machines, right? You're like, I don't know. Is this a pulling thing? Is this a pushing? Where do I put my hands? What do I do? Right? It's just so...
I think we would have two different perspectives on this because Jess and I are both very different characters.
Right.
For me, yes, when I started working out, the gym was intimidating. And I thought walking to the gym and doing whatever it is that I am supposed to do, I would be judged. So it was very intimidating. But what I did was I hired a personal trainer.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah, because you don't know what you don't know. So the moment you start to expand your repertoire by actually getting someone who is a professional in that field to help you, you start to understand more, and then you realize how to make this your own.
Correct.
And do you have something?
Well, I like that. I like that perspective because it comes right back to the fact that one of the big principal points is the partner accountability idea that we talked about before. So that's on a personal level in a gym context, but in the controlled strength method and the Power and Posture community, it's like you've got 13 accountability bodies. And I think we set that mentality since the beginning, especially as us coaches, like the very first class. We ensure, without being so literal about it, we ensure that they understand this is not an environment for competition. Competition is healthy and it's part of it as well, but it's camaraderie and it's like, it's co-learning. Right. And that everybody has their place. For me in the gym, though, that's a different story. I started, and definitely I had a completely different experience. For me, it was a sense of wonder. I did not come from a place of fear at all. For me, it was more like, what is this torture machine? Like, how do I use it? And lo and behold, I never really used them anyway. I played around with them a little bit, but it's almost like this little kid that gets a new toy. The first week, it's super exciting, plays with it the whole day for 5 days, and then it loses its interest.
And here's the thing, this is what I say about boredom.
Right.
Like with training, you work with a single thing and then you get bored, and then what? You keep adding load.
Correct.
So with skill work, because the complexity changes so much, you're not going to get bored.
No.
And it's also we know so many people, me included, Jess included, we get to a point where we're like, oh my God, I need to get this, and I will do whatever it takes to get this.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Superb. So we've been talking about the philosophy.
Yes.
I know that there are some things that you just do not allow to happen at Power and Posture. What are those?
Fluffiness.
Fluffiness?
Yes.
What's fluffiness?
So fluffiness is when you whine, you don't want to do stuff, you go, oh, this is hard, this is hard, this is hard. So we don't allow that at all, and people know that.
Yes.
So
You don't allow it? What do you do?
Different coaches are different. I yell.
Oh my God, we have the whole palette of different approaches.
Yes, different approaches. I basically don't allow it just with my mannerisms. So I sit there beside them and I make sure that they get their sets and their reps done. And I do not allow any whining. So I've heard I can't.
Right.
A lot of I can't. And one of the consistent things that I say, yes, you can. Your parents aren't here. Don't act like your parents are here. Only because, as you grow up, there are many times where your parents have said, no, you can't, right?
Oh,
and
that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So our mindset, especially for me, because when, as a Southeast Asian child, everything is done for you. You learn how to be independent very late in life.
Right.
And your parents go, you can't. So that's one of the most, consistent things I say in my class. But I'm a very military-like trainer.
Nice.
Yeah, so there is no opportunity for them to be fluffy.
Okay.
Jess, on the other hand...
Wait. I need to add to this, though. This is too good. Seriously. How could you miss that? So maybe it's because Shimi is Shimi, so she won't see it the same way, but... She will come to you, and if you're fluffy and you're just doing your own thing on the side, she's going to come to you with a very stern look and, what are you doing? What are you doing? And she asks that question in such a profound, honest, right through your face way, you don't dare fluff around. You can't.
And now all my coaches do that.
Yeah. So now this is something that we found just so cool. It's like now we actually try to impersonate that. Like
what you doing?
What are you doing? No. Not what you doing.
No. What
it's
are you doing?
What are you doing?
Like
just stand there and stare at them.
Yeah. Well, that's what works for me.
I think you should just do this in Instagram story every morning. What are you doing? That's like you just intimidate everyone. To get up and do something.
Immediately at the point where you're like, oh, I don't want to wake up. I don't want to do. What are you doing? We work well. And it's interesting because I think like all the coaches at Power and Posture, it's such a unique team. It's such an amazing team of individuals because everybody has such different ways and it all works.
Right.
If you weren't true to your own being, it wouldn't come across as legit.
Your own style.
And I'm quite petite and I can look like I can't really command space, but I think I do everything with such a heartfelt intent that for me what works is I stay silent, I look at them, and I am so sincere about how disappointed I am that they're like, oh my God, we're going to disappoint Jess. We can't do that.
But the relationship is important. The reason why
that's a big
our
point.
practitioners practice no fluff is because we have that relationship with them. And this relationship can only be built over consistent time.
True.
And that is why we have 8-week programs.
Right.
And our results are maximized and we've got rapid progress because it's an 8-week program where you see the same faces for 8 weeks.
Right.
You build that relationship.
Yes.
They know what you expect out of them. And each group has only one coach. So that relationship is really built and they know what you expect from them. Therefore, no fluff.
I like the whole 8 weeks, rapid, very quickly, get the job done.
Get the job done and you see results.
See results. How should people get in touch with you? What should they? Where should they follow you? What should they?
Here's my number.
That's
Miss
it.
Pins, what's
It
your
is
number?
+614. Okay, they can follow us in our Instagram.
Okay.
So it's Power and Posture.
Okay.
And is the symbol. So Power and Posture.
Okay.
Or they can follow me. Personally, my Instagram handle is Shimi Shammy, SHIMI,
So your Instagram handles will be in the description below of the podcast as well. And how should they start the workshop? Do you all have an online training? Is something coming up?
We do have an app coming out. So it's called the CS app.
Okay.
And it's going to host all our programs that we've done in the last 6 years.
Okay. Wow.
So you'll have access to all our programs. So we've got 8-week programs and we've got 4-week programs. And we are launching.
So excited.
We are launching in October.
In October, all right.
Yes, we're launching in October.
Fantastic. That's a fantastic year to launch an app.
Yes.
Because it's my birthday month, so it's going to be fun.
My birthday month too.
And her birthday when is
too.
yours, Ash?
21st October.
21st, then we've got
23rd and then 27.
Oh, brilliant.
Yeah.
October, babies!
Superb. Thank you so much for coming down and chatting with us. I can't wait for your next workshop here. Hopefully Jan.
Hopefully Jan, yes.
Jan. All right. So either follow me, follow you to find out when the next workshop is going to be in Bombay. And thank you so much for coming, guys.
Thank you for
Thank
having
you,
us.
Ash.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that episode. And if you enjoy listening to content on the IVM Podcast Network, let me tell you about a couple of things that you should check out this week. On IVM Likes, Abbas Madhuri, Rutika, and Antariksh talk about pop culture that they never tire of and give you some cool recommendations to check out. On Know Your Kanun, Ambar is joined by Arzu, an LLB student, social activist, and environmentalist. They talk about the data protection laws in India. On Agla Station Adulthood, Ritasha and Ayushi discuss the importance of health and taking care of oneself in the early stages of adulthood. On Keeping It Queer, Anish Kawande returns to join Naveen and Farhad to discuss adolescent and celebrity crushes. On Football Shutball, Gaurav, Karthik and Siva round up the Premier League weekend and talk about the absolute demolition Bayern Munich inflicted upon Tottenham. On The Origin of Things, Chuck narrates a story about a criminal from Portland, Oregon, whose infamous last words have become the slogan for a famous brand. Thanks, and we hope to see you again soon.
Filter coffee is a fascinating beverage. You need to pick the right beans, blend them in the right proportion, roast them to perfection, and slow brew at the right temperature to get the perfect cup. Which is exactly like great conversations as well. You need to track down the most interesting minds, get them into their zone, and settle down for an unhurried, unscripted chat. And coffee for me is always, always, always best enjoyed with friends. I'm Karthik Nagarajan, and do share my table as I meet some of the most interesting people I know and sit them down for a strong cup of coffee and an even stronger conversation. Join me every Wednesday for a freshly brewed episode. This is not frappe. This is the Filter Coffee Podcast.